So, like I said to you, we touched in the first video, we spoke about how important self-worth and belief in what we're speaking about being important. And those factors are very key when it comes to communicating. It's often the reasons as to why things are miscommunicated. And it's often the reason as to why people don't take us seriously because we don't feel or seem like we believe in what we're speaking about. Because if you did, there'd be a level of confidence that you have. However, Alfie, who is somebody that will be on here quite often, spoke in one of his videos in reference to being open to being corrected in what you're speaking about. So just because someone has a different opinion or they ask you a question in reference to what you're speaking about, you have to be prepared for that. And the way that you continue to learn and grow is through not only being questioned, but also by teaching. Because when you teach, you're able to, and you're forced to have to continue to relearn, to continue to keep growing in that specific area and whatever area you're speaking about. So on this one, we're speaking in reference to the power of emotion when it comes to communicating. Now, a lot of us often get in trouble and get called out and face consequences and ramifications because of emotion, but it's because of how emotion's used. Now, I definitely got in trouble in school for one aspect of emotion, and that being how emotion influenced my tone. So something happens, let's say something happens in the classroom, someone makes a noise, someone throws something, and I get told or blamed or held up as the person that did whatever the teacher wasn't happy with. I'm gonna get defensive because why are you blaming me? Why has my name gone on the board? Why am I getting parked? Why am I getting kicked out? Why am I getting a phone call home? It weren't me. But that's not how this game works. Because two things happen when you do that. Number one, the teacher has to make an example because if he or she allows you to carry on communicating with them in the way that you are, displaying that kind of attitude, everyone else is going to follow. So there's pride at work, and also it's just not the way that things are done. Because if you handled that situation in this way, you realize and recognize that, hold on, it weren't me that threw that or spoke out of turn or was misbehaving, but I'll speak to them after the lesson. And you go up to them and you say, by the way, it wasn't me that threw or did whatever. And you handle that situation with confidence, but you also handle the situation with wisdom and you apologize for previous behavior that may have made them believe that you would do such things. I can guarantee that any consequence that would have been there or was about to be put in place, i.e., phone calls home or whatever it might be, will not be carried out. So that is tone, your emotion. You play the cards of emotions. When you're communicating things, if you're able to find out and identify the area where emotions can be used, not to manipulate, this is a very thin line. You don't use emotions to manipulate people, but you use emotions where you can. If you are trying to help somebody out and you realize that this area that you're helping them out in, for example, you're trying to help out a parent that's not yours and they're reluctant to receive your help. Maybe you're trying to help them with shopping bags. If they're being reluctant to help and you say, I'm a son as well. Like I know that my mom or my dad or my carer like does the shopping and like I want to help you out. They're more likely to then allow you or let you in because there is a level of compatibility, there is a level of compassion, there's a level of understanding and similarities and things that they can relate with that will now allow them to see why it would be beneficial for them to allow you to give them the help that they actually need. Because that's a completely other thing that we'll go into later on. The fact that not everybody that needs help will ask for it. And we've all been there. We've all been in there in the classroom. Another thing Alfie was speaking about. We've all been there in the classroom, not understanding what's going on and not asking. So when it comes to emotions, it's very important to understand how, firstly, to regulate and understand your own. So if you're somebody that gets very angry or irritated or agitated quickly, you need to be aware of the things that cause that to happen. So if it's particular friends, then you need to understand that socializing and being around those people might not be the smartest or brightest thing to do. If that, if being around those kind of people gets you into trouble, then a decision needs to be made. You need to first begin to go in. This is the first time I'm going to use this word, introspection. Going inward, doing work on yourself, doing the things behind the scenes. There's many words to speak about the same things, but you have to start analyzing yourself before anything can be done outward. Because the older you get, the more frustrated you will get in reference to your own behaviors. So it's important for you to begin to understand them now so that doesn't happen as often as it does. So emotions. Now, when it comes to emotions, the last thing that I'm gonna say on this topic is making decisions based on your emotions is never wise. Even when people that are in the corporate world, which simply means people that are in offices and in their 9 to 5 jobs, that's the corporate world. They even have a principle that if they're going to send an important email, they will leave it sometimes 2 days before they press send to make sure that the email that they sent, the things that they wrote, have no influence, that their emotions have no influence in what they're saying. And sometimes they change just a few words. Sometimes they have to rewrite the whole thing because they realize that everything that they were saying here was based on their emotions. So now, in certain situations, you don't have 2 days, you don't have an hour. Sometimes you have seconds to make a decision. But in making a decision, you have every right and every ability to postpone making a decision and saying things like, I'll get back to you, or can I give you a response later on? So you don't have to act. Even in certain situations, you don't have to hang on to your pride, how you're seen, hang on to your image. You can make a decision that you'll be proud with and happy with later on. Don't allow your emotions to rule you. The more you make emotional decisions, the more you will begin to go closer and get closer and closer to what is called depression. Because if you are doing what you know you don't want to do and are unable to make the right decisions, the ones that you know you need to make, it's not a nice situation to be in. I've been there. So learn from now, start practicing from now, making the uncomfortable decisions and not making emotional ones. Now, in the next one, it's going to get very interesting, and a lot of you are going to be. I'm going to put you guys in situations when you practicalize the stuff that I say, that you'll begin to actually start seeing changes and differences in your communication and in your leadership. So I'll see you on the next one.